All right. Well, good morning, dear ones. We are SOTU, and this is SOTUesday for the 11th day of April, 2017. Today's discussion, we would like to bring up the subject of examining one's own motivations. And we realize that each of you, in your own way, believes that the dynamics of your motivations are correct, and if there is those in your world that are, what shall we say, expressing a different viewpoint, then they must be coming from a dynamic that is different than yours. And so many of you judge the dynamics of those others are evil and you are good. And we would suggest to you that in those circumstances, they are judging that you are evil and that they are good. And we would tell you that each of you in your own dynamics of polarization find a, what shall we say, a mixed motivation in both dynamics, which could be considered evil and good, but which we would like to have you perhaps consider with a different definition of dark shadow and light shadow, because none of you are all of one or all of the other, even though you may judge yourself to be that. You know, you must look at the dynamics. Well, again, you don't have to look at the dynamics, but it would serve you to look at the dynamics that of what your basic baseline motivations are. Those of you that are dark shadow, those that are governed by a dynamic of a belief in not enough, that you are not enough, that your world is not enough, that you must compete with each other for scarce resources in order to survive. There's that whole dynamic of fear that unless you amass these dynamics, then something is, and it has carried itself out to the nth degree in this circumstance at this point in human transformation, in the dynamic of human growth. You are really at the end of a dynamic of a pendulum swing. If you look at the majority of those in your world right now, you're operating from a place of fear. You're operating from a place of your reptilian mind. You are not trying to solve problems. You're just reacting to things, and from fear, you tend to act overly aggressively and so seek to control situations. And, it's exactly what is appearing as a reflection in your world right now, that whole motivation of fear, that whole motivation that comes from a dynamic, believe it or not, of original sin, of believing that you are born into this world already having to learn something. And those of you that are light shadow, boy, you'll use that dynamic, won't you? Holy crow, you'll say, well, I am here to learn my lessons. I'm here to learn my lessons. God is here to punish me. I'm here to pay up the karma for all of my past lifetimes. I'm here for, again, it is that whole dynamic of the wrathful God going to punish you unless you are good, that you are, dear ones, you've carried this dynamic to the nth degree as well. But it all comes from a dynamic of a belief that you're not enough. Two visions of the dynamic of not enough. Not enough creates a dynamic of competition and comparison, of a Darwinian sort of survival of the fittest, translated into a societal term. So only the strongest of you are supposed to survive? If the divine is really conscious, then is not all life sacred in its own way? Are there not many levels of understanding, many levels of color in the dynamics of your world? Look at the dynamics of color that exist in the physical reality, and you will begin to understand the depth of color in the dynamics of human personality. and the way human personality creates. But if they've got you all creating from a place of fear, a place of you not being enough, if the whole dynamic of your paradigm is built upon the dynamic of not enough, that if you were incarnate in order to learn something because you're not good enough, is that not the reflection of almost everything that is going on in your world right now? We would like to offer you perhaps an opportunity to begin to change your motivation. This one, the channel, has been mulling for weeks. The statement that we have often said, that you are really here, incarnate on this planet, for one reason and one reason only. And when we bring this dynamic up, when we ask this question in the dynamic of a workshop, when we ask this question, the one answer that we usually get is, we're here to learn something. We're here to learn a lesson. We're here to learn a series of lessons. We're here to grow and learn our lessons. Again, even if you're just using the dynamic of growth, you're putting a negative connotation on it, that you're here to learn something, because the inference is that you don't know enough. But what if you are here simply to have more, to learn to be more? What if you are here to simply be enough? And when you are enough, it is possible then to change your motivation from a dynamic of being here in this existence, on this journey, in order to learn, in order to suffer, in order to grow, through the dynamic of negativity, through the dynamic of being not enough and becoming enough. But how about if you're already enough? And then the ultimate outcome in that dynamic is to know that you are here for one reason, and one reason only, and that is to have fun. Now we would like you to consider that and to contemplate that dynamic, that enough equals fun. So could it be that it would be simple enough for you to change your motivation just by beginning to identify where your feelings of not enough are motivating you? And then in that dynamic of identification, it becomes possible to make a different choice. We are SOTU, and this is SOTUesday for the 11th day of April, the 11th day of the 4th month. 411, is that not about information?
Yes, it is.
All right. We love you all so very, very much. We'll see you next Tuesday. We'll be putting up a conversations probably tomorrow. A chapter 6, we believe, episode 6. Well, it talks a lot about negative ego, so you might be interested in watching that as well. We love you. Until next time we close. Sending you peace, sending you happiness, sending you joy, and maybe about a quart of fun.